So we are going to use the computers in order to perform some calculations or to perform some complex tasks. If you are using your computer system or if you are working with your computer system, then I can call you as a user. The first programmer is Ada Lovelace, and father of computer is Charles Babbage, and father of computer science is Alan Turing. When you want to store your data permanently, I have to go with the secondary memory. When you want to store your data and information temporarily, at the time I must go with the primary memory. Hello everyone, I welcome all of you to the Computer Science Bridge course. Myself Rohini TS, lecturer in Computer Science, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Mysuru. I am very glad that you are here and we are here to help you out. So why this bridge course is required for us? Some of you might studied your computer science in your school days, but some of you may from the non-computer science background students, and I'm here to assist you all over your computer science journey. So I would like to welcome all of you to our Temple of Excellence. What ma'am, what and all you have for us in order to get to know something about the computer system? Here I am going to explain some of the introduction part regarding the computer science. That means what do you mean by computer, what are the components is there, and what are the terminologies, basic terminologies that you must understand. And what we have in the second session, I would like to discuss some of the usage or applications of the computer system in our daily life. After that, I am going to discuss some of the evolution of a programming languages. So how it will be evolved. So what was the first programming languages? What ma'am, what you are saying we are not understanding, right? So I am going to discuss in the next session. After that, I am going to say something regarding trends and technologies of 2020 and 21. After that, I have some of the career opportunities. That means I will make you to realize that you have chosen a right path in your computer science. Let me get into the today's session, that is what is computer and what is computer science, who are all the fathers of this computer science. After that, I am going to discuss some of the basic terminologies regarding this computer. What ma'am, what do you mean by computer? We have any abbreviations for computer? Yes, that means what? Computers are nothing but it is a commonly operated or operating machine which is mainly purposely used for technological and educational research. So we are all in the digital world. Even I am communicating with you in the digital media. Am I right? So what do you mean by computer then? It is a commonly operating machine which is purposely used for the technological and educational research. So then what do you mean by computers and what is computer science and who is the father of computer and what are all the basic terminologies that I must know before getting into the computer science. So let me have a brief discussion regarding all these things. Then what do you mean by computer? So computer is an electronic machine. So what it will going to do? It can store, recall and process the data. So what do you mean by computer then? It is an electronic machine. So what are the abilities it has? It can store, it can process and it can recall the data. So after that what we have? It can perform the task or complex calculation. So what is the value of 2 plus 2? Let me know. What is the value of 2 plus 2? So you might got answer, right? So but what if 2098 into 2068? So somehow it is difficult, right? But computer will going to make your life so easy. So by calculation or it will more helpful to take the beneficial thing out of the computer system. So computer is nothing but what? It is an electronic machine. It will going to recall, it will going to store and it will going to process the complex data for us. So that is nothing but what? Computers. So what are the basic terminologies that you must know regarding the computers? First you must know what do you mean by hardware. I think you all have seen what is computer comprises of. We have keyboard, we have mouse, we have CPU, we have speaker, printer and all the devices, right? So can I touch and feel that? Yes, of course, that is nothing but hardware devices. So what is hardware? The hardware devices are the physical component of a computer system that I can touch and feel. so that I can touch and feel. The physical component of a computer systems is nothing but what? Hardware. Then what is software, ma'am? Is it soft in nature? No, that is not a software. So software in the sense what? It is a set of instructions which we're going to call that as a program. Set of instructions are nothing but what? Programs. So you might have heard that computer science students used to do that. I want to do that program. I want to do this program. Like that. So program is nothing but what? It is a collection of instruction. That is program. So programs are nothing but what? Software. That will going to instruct the computer in order to perform the task. So we are going to use the computers in order to perform some calculations or to perform some complex tasks. So which will going to assist the computer's hardware? That is software. So softwares are nothing but what? It is a set of instruction. I am giving some instruction or I am regulating the hardware devices in order to make that work. So that is nothing but what? Software. Then what is the next basic terminology that I must know? That is nothing but what? Data. So what is this data, ma'am? So what is this data comprises of? So data can be anything. So you must know that computer understands only zeros and ones. So what are all I am saying or what are all the things I am talking? Computer doesn't understand. Why? Because computer understands only zeros and ones. So then what is this data? This data is a raw fact. So we need to process that data. Data can be anything. So if I have a text, I can also call that text as a data. If I have some numbers, even that numbers can be considered as what? Data. I have audio and video files, ma'am. Then can I call that as a data? Of course you can. So whatever the content, or it could be what? Images, video, audio, or any text, numbers, I can consider anything as a data. It is a raw fact that needs to be processed. That needs to be processed. Okay. So that is nothing but what? Data. Then what is information? So what is information? That is nothing but it is a process data. It is a process data. I am going to get some decisions. I am going to make some decision with the help of that information. That is nothing but what? Information. Whatever the data which is in the processed form, that is nothing but what? Information. Getting? Then who are all the users? So whom can I call as a user? If you are using your computer system or if you are working with your computer system, then I can call you as a user. Those who are working or those who are creating a programs or those who are building some software to the computer system, then I can call them as a user. Let me take one real-time example to make you understand what you mean by data and what is information. Okay, now just imagine I want to make a tea or coffee. Then what are the ingredients that I require? Don't worry about the stove and vessels. Don't worry about that. Just think about the ingredients. Then what are the ingredients that I require? I require milk, I require water, I require sugar, I require tea or coffee powder, right? So that I can call that as a data. Is it processed? No, it is in the raw manner. That is, it will be in the raw fact. So that all the ingredients which are required in order to prepare a coffee or tea, then I can call that as a data. Then what is processing? I am going to turn on the stove and I am going to take one vessel. After that, I am going to add sugar, milk as well as the water and tea or coffee powder, right? So that is processing. What will going to happen? It will going to boil, right? So that boiling is a process. That is processing. The data will be converted to information. Then what is information? You are going to get a cup of tea, right? So cup of tea or coffee, that what is the ingredient that you have added that you are going to get. So data is a raw fact that needs to be processed in order to get the information. In between we require a processing. Then who is the user? Then who is making that tea or coffee is an user. Okay, it's just a real-time example. Don't write this example in your examination. Okay, so that data is nothing but what? It is a raw fact and information is a process data. So process is nothing but what? It is a conversion of data into some information that may help me to take the decision. So these are the basic terminologies that you must understand. What you mean by computer and what is hardware, what is software and who is user and what you mean by information, what is data and what is processing. These are all the things you must know basically. After that, let me move on to the next slide. So what is this computer science? So what do you mean by computer science? It is nothing but what? It is a study of computers. So I'm going to study the computers, then I can call that stream as a computer science. Right? So it is nothing but what? It is a study of computers and computational systems. I am going to study about computers along with its computational system. So this computer will going to perform or will going to have theory, application, development phase and release phase. So management phase, everything will be there. So together that study I am going to call that as a computer science. Okay, I would like to welcome all of you to our computer science branch. Let me move on to the next slide. So what we have in the next slide, ma'am? So who is father of computer? I hope you all going to get the answer. So who is father of computer? You are all going to answer. Who is father then? That is Charles Babbage. He is the one who started to invent the computers mainly for the calculation purpose. Computers were invented mainly for the calculation purpose. We have computers and we have a study, that is computer science. Then who is the father of computer science? Here you can see that father of computer science is Alan Turing. So the father of computer is Charles Babbage and father of computer science is Alan Turing. After that, who is that pretty lady? Can you see her? Yes. Who is that girl? Who is that lady? She is a lady, Ada Lovelace. She is the one or she is the lady who started computer programming. So I am very glad to her because she is a lady. So that is nothing but what? The first programmer is Ada Lovelace and father of computer is Charles Babbage and father of computer science is Alan Turing. So these are the things you must remember. Then how computers evolved, ma'am? So why this computers is required? Can you just imagine your world without computers? Can you just name a place where we are not using computer? I'm really very curious to get to know the answer. That means you have to comment me which is the field or where we are not using the computers. Let me know in the comment section, students. So before that, I would like to have a components of a computer system. What can I call a computers? What computer comprises of? So it will going to have input devices and I have a CPU and it has some memory and it has a output units. So what is this, ma'am? What is this input unit comprises of? So I want to perform some operations or I want to process something. So that I have to give some input to the computer system. I need to give some input to the computer system. With the help of that input device, I am going to fetch some data to the computer system in order to get the information. So the device or a input unit which I am going to use is nothing but what? Input device. It may comprises of combination of one or more input devices. That is nothing but what? Input unit. So can you give me some example regarding the input unit? So with the help of which component I am going to give the input? So it will include keyboard, mouse, scanner. So those are all the input devices. Then why I require CPU? So why brain is important for us? To think, to recall, to store the data and to take some decisions and to perform some complex tasks, right? In the same way, computers also require CPU, that is central processing unit. I can call that CPU as a brain and heart of a computer system. Whatever the process I want to take, that will be takes place in the CPU. Takes place in the CPU. Once I am done with the computation, after that I need to store that data in the memory. So what is this memory, ma'am? Why we require? So I just gonna see the outputs in a computer output system itself. I don't want to store. Is it okay for you all? No, I just want to store my data. I just want to recall and I just want to fetch the data even after some time. So that memory is very, very important. Computer will going to have two types of memory, that is primary memory and secondary memory. When you want to store your data permanently, I have to go with the secondary memory. When you want to store your data and information temporarily, at the time I must go with the primary memory. Then what is this output unit? Why I require this output unit? So output unit is nothing but what? It is a combination or it could be a collection of one or more output devices. Can you name any output devices? It will include monitor, printer and plotters. Okay, it will include monitor, printer, plotters, and just let me know what are all the output devices and input devices that you know. Okay, so these are the components of a computer system. I need to give some data, CPU will going to process. Once it is processed or once it is done with its calculation, it has to be stored in the memory. After that, I need to display that data to the user. So that these are the important components of a computer system. Then we'll see how the computers evolved. So already I told you that computers invention is mainly for the calculation purpose. Then how can I going to calculate 2 plus 2? That will be easy for me. But what if I want to calculate a large numbers, or what if I want to have a large computation? At that time, computer is so important and it will play a vital role in our daily life in order to solve the computation problem, or it will going to make our life easy by solving the complex problems. So now we'll see how the computers evolved. So we have heard something regarding abacus. So most of you are familiar with that. That is mainly used for the computation purpose, right? So from that devices, evolution of a computers takes place. Evolution of a computers takes place. So here you can see that in the 2500 BC, that is before Christ, they started working with abacus. Then they are going to got some difference engine. After that, we have some of the generation, first generation, second generation, up to 5 generation of computers we have. So now we can get the computers in different sizes, different shapes, along with the different manufacturers, right? So we'll see how the computers evolved. So I am going to start with 1930. So I'm going to start with 1930. So this is nothing but what? Beginning of the computer calculation machine. So main purpose of using computer is for the calculation purpose. They doesn't have any idea regarding what computer is, what I'm going to do. So they just manufactured, or they just developed a computer as a calculating machine. After that, it has been evolved day by day, or by year. You can say that by decade itself. Okay. So coming to here, you can see that it is mainly used for the programmable computers. So in 1930s, it will going to mark as the beginning of the calculating machine. So as I told earlier, it is mainly for the calculation purpose. So here it will be considered as a first programmable computers. So then what about this 1940s, ma'am? So in this 1940s, I have a computers as an entire room. It will going to acquire entire room. So just imagine how large it is, right? So how large it was, that means it will going to acquire the entire room. So like any yak. I am going to discuss everything in detail in the coming sections. So here it is known as what? Mathematical robot. Here you can see that here I have a room. In that room, that computer will going to acquire the entire room. So just imagine about its computation part and how large it was. So what about 1950s, ma'am? When it is come to 1950s, computers are mainly or strictly used for research and scientific purpose, not for the common uses or not for the calculation purpose. They started working with a research and scientific and engineering stream. So here you can see that in 1950s, computers were strictly used for scientific and engineering researchers. Then what I can call that computers? So I can call that as a helpful assistant for the mathematicians, because for calculations, for mathematical purpose and scientific and engineering purpose, I require these computers. So this was manufactured in the year 1950. Then coming to the 1960. So here the main or major change has been takes place. What is that? So everything changed when the programmer 101 became the first desktop computers to the average consultant. So that what? Even average consumer or a people can buy this desktop computers. So in 1960s, it will going to happen like, so the first desktop computer has been developed. So this is regarding 1960s. So then what about 1970s? So if you coming to the 1970s era, at that time personal computers become more popular. So this helped out the Steve Jobs to invent his Apple or a Mac. So that this is regarding 1970s. If you come to the 1980s, so 1980s, Apple's Macintosh. So that is the first Mac computers was described as a game changer. Why it is game changer? Because it has the greatest features than the previous year's computers. So in 1980s, Steve Jobs will going to develop Apple's Macintosh. It going to change a game of a computer science industry. There will be a vast changes in the computer science industry by making of this Macintosh, or by making of this Apple's Macintosh. So coming to the 1990s, here you can see that Apple released the famous iMac G3, which is very customizable. That means what? Based on your requirement, you can customize the computer system. So the big era which has been started in 90s. Okay, after that in 2000 and later 2000, we have computers in different shapes, different colors, and different manufacturers are there. So from the abacus or from the entire room computer now has been changed to palm top or a tablets. You can see the very large difference between the prior or a first initial computers to the nowadays computer system. In 2000s or in 2000s, 20th century, we can see the computers which can come in all the shapes and all the sizes. So this is how the computers has been evolved. I'm done with today's session. In this session, we have learned that what do you mean by computer? That means what is the abbreviation of a computer, and what is computer, what is computer science, what are the basic terminologies that I must get to know. That is, it comprises of hardware, software, user, and then what do you mean by data, what is information, whom can I call as a user. So these are the basic terminologies that you must remember. After that, what is computer science? The study of a computers and its tool. That is nothing but what? Computer science. And here you can see the who is father of a computer, who is the first programmer, and who is the father of computer science. These are the things that I have discussed along with the components of a computers. It comprises of input unit, output unit, CPU along with the memory. After that, I had a discussion regarding evolution of a computer from the abacus to the nowadays computer. Here you can see that in each year or in each decade there is a vast difference in computer industry. So that these are the things that I want to just make you understand regarding the brief introduction of a computer system. I'm going to meet you in the next session with an interesting topic. Until that, keep learning, keep on growing. Thank you, dear students.